Hey everybody. We are on. We have a show with Miss Gloria Yang today, one-on-one with her, and so we're just going to share into our personal and a couple other groups, and then we will be starting the show. If you are live with us, please let us know where you're watching us from so we can do our typical normal shout outs.
And please make sure to share this live.
Yes, please do. Hi, New from Philadelphia. How are you? How is the weather out there? Miss Emily from Oklahoma, Broken Arrow, Oklahoma. How are you? Thank you for tuning in. Hi, Bob from Minnesota. Are you guys still getting snow or rain up there? How's the weather like up there? Oh, thank you. Paris Yang from Denver. Hello. Mai Hyung from North Carolina. How are you? Thanks for tuning in. We have a great show today, you guys. We know it's been a while. If you guys follow Gloria, it's been a while since she's been on any of the social media stuff besides her own personal. So this is a great chance for us to kind of get to know her, do a one-on-one with her, ask her some questions that I'm sure most of you are curious about, just to kind of get to know her. So please make sure you share this so we get people joining us. The weather has been good so far. Good. That's great to hear. But I know you guys had some snow up there. So, Micah Gracie from Pennsylvania. Hello. How are you? Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll get started here shortly. We've got Bertie from Chaplin, Minnesota. Hello. Thank you for tuning in. Hi, Ia. And Ia's from Oregon, where I'm from as well, from Portland. So we've got, our Portland peeps supporting us. Thank you. Oh, you got some sick kiddos, huh, Micah? I feel like it's that time of year. My kids, they did get sick already, but it's probably because in Portland, we've had a lot of rain recently too. So I know that my kids also was sick, but they are much better now. If you are tuning in now, we will get started shortly. Callie is just kind of sharing it into some of the groups and on her personal, and then we will bring Gloria on and we can kind of start the show. But today is our one-on-one with her, and so we are both very excited. I know Gloria is excited. We've been wanting to kind of bring her on to just kind of do a one-on-one with her. So we're really thankful that she said yes. And, we'll get to ask her all types of questions. And I think if you guys have a question for her too, please make sure that you save it. I think in a little bit, once we bring her on, feel free to jot your questions down in the comment, and we will try to get to them if we can. But we've also got people from California. Hello. Callie, you got Mr. Voodoo over here saying, hi, Red.
Hi, Voodoo.
All right. So you ready, Callie?
I am.
All right. Okay, you guys, thank you so much for tuning in and welcome to All That Talk Show, where we strive to educate, empower, and entertain. I am your co-host, Olivia.
I'm Callie.
And on today's show, we are doing a one-on-one with Miss Gloria Yang. I know she has been in the forefront of social media a lot. And so we are just so excited to have her on and, have her kind of share her stories and her experiences with you all. So if you've got questions for her, make sure you put them in the comments. And so we will try to get to them if we can. But I will hand it over to Callie so Callie can bring her on.
Yeah, so just a quick introduction of Gloria. Gloria was born and raised in Minnesota, and where she currently resides, and she is a graduate of the University of Wisconsin River Falls and has a degree in Bachelor's of Science in Marketing Communications. Previously, she volunteered for nonprofit organizations such as the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention and Nushia Hmong Women Achieving Together. After working corporate for several years, she recently quit her full-time position as a marketing assistant to pursue her career full-time as a content creator. Gloria is passionate about inclusivity and body positivity. And so we are going to bring her on. So please give us some hearts. Throw us some hearts.
Yes,
So
let's
we can
welcome
bring her
Gloria.
on.
Hi, Miss Gloria. How
Hi,
are you?
I'm doing great.
Good.
Beautiful day in Minnesota, so I'm happy. It means spring.
Awesome.
It
Yes.
is beautiful.
Yeah,
I know it's been a while since I've seen you. It's been like a little over a year. So how have you been?
oh man. I'm doing good, but it has been quite crazy out there.
Good. I'm glad to hear. Good.
All right. So shall we just kick it off?
Yeah, let's just get to it.
Okay, all right. So I know that in the past you have been pretty open about just your relationship with your parents and your family and whatnot. And I think we can all agree that, I think being Hmong, our relationships with our siblings, our parents aren't always this perfect nuclear, like what we envision of supportive and being, super healthy. And so I think that sometimes when we think about, our family, we always believe that they're supposed to fulfill this certain role. And that I think as we grow older, that can lead to disappointments because those things don't actually happen. So I'm curious, how have you learned to accept your family for who they are and for what role they play in your life?
Yeah, growing up, it's a little complicated because, where there's four of us, including my parents. So I have three siblings, two older, one younger. The thing about us is we're so far apart in age. So I think individually, we all felt like we grew up as the single child because we all faced different things in our lives. And it made it really hard to relate to one another. So I always felt like growing up, I was on my own journey. And it's hard too because both my parents were working parents, so they were never home. And with that being said, it was kind of complicated to navigate between the American culture and the Hmong culture too, because my family's very Americanized. My parents didn't really raise us, especially the woman, to like clean and cook or whatever. They wanted us all to just go to school and be very independent. So that was how we were raised in our family. And so growing up as a young kid, I grew up in the suburbs. So I was mostly white kids. And I didn't really hang out with Hmong people until I'd say high school, like the end of middle school and the beginning of high school. And I just remembered growing up, I was bullied a lot by the Hmong community just because they're like, you're too whitewashed, you're too whitewashed. And then when I'm with the white folks, it's like, obviously I'm a colored person, I'm a Hmong person, and it's hard for them to understand how we are as well. So I didn't really feel like I had anywhere to grow up or anywhere to, I guess, fit in, is what I'm saying. So it was very difficult growing up. I didn't really know where I fit in. And then I just happened to start like hanging out with Hmong people at the end of middle school, beginning of high school, but it was mostly because my first boyfriend was Hmong. And I think that was kind of like what influenced me to be more involved with the community and to form relationships with people of my own. As far as, accepting each other for who we are, I think that's always been a journey. It's always been a difficult thing with my parents and I because my siblings, they're very low key, they're very conservative, just like my parents. And so my parents kind of raised us, hey, they don't want confrontation, just let it slide, be quiet, just do the right thing by being silent, don't say anything, you don't want any problems. They were always kind of like teaching us to, I think, just to avoid problems. I think they did it in a way to try to protect us. But it was difficult for me because I felt like I had a lot of pent up anger and a lot of things that happened to me that I couldn't voice about to my parents or to anyone because I suppressed it for so long.
So that was like stuff externally, like outside your family, that was happening that you felt like your parents didn't really understand or took the time to kind of understand.
Exactly, because and I know that we'll eventually dive into the topic of mental health and all that, but I started experiencing depression at a very, very young age when I was 5 years old. And the reason why I think back and I know that is because that's when I started getting bullied a lot, like in school. I attended Phelan Elementary. So at that time, I think it was like kindergarten through 8th grade. And so my little sister wasn't born yet. It was just me and my two older siblings. And they were like in 7th and 8th grade. They're 1 year apart, but yeah. So they're older than me. And they would patrol like the little kids at school. And then me as a kindergartner, I would just wait in the office for my siblings to come pick me up when they were done. And like I got bullied really badly by these two girls. Like, it was a white girl and a Cambodian girl. And I just remember going home and feeling like I was so different. Like, okay, there must be something about me that's different. Because why am I getting picked on? And from that age on, like I would always nitpick myself all the time, like how I look. I would always pick apart like how I dress, like maybe it's me, like I'm the problem. So it started really, really young. And it was difficult for me because one of my siblings did know what was going on, but unfortunately, no one really protected me or confronted the situation. So then I just continued to keep suppressing it, right? So I had a lot of external things going on. And from that point on, I just never felt like I was good enough. I never felt like I was confident in myself. And I didn't know how to voice this. I didn't know the language to use.
Yeah, I definitely feel like our parents, like their first priority was really like to provide, right? Like a house over a roof. Like my parents didn't make a lot of money growing up. And so like both of my parents, or all three of my parents, long story. But all three of my parents like worked, all the time, like first shift and second shift so that they can take care of us and stuff. But I would say, yeah, like emotionally, like they weren't there, like physically and stuff like that. They provided for us. But I think that that's one thing that I feel like I learned, because I did have MIGA friends who I felt like they were close to their moms or their dads, and like my relationship with my dad is probably like most Hmong girls, like there's no relationship, right? Like it's like anytime they need to talk to you about something, it goes through your mom, right? Like your mom needs to like teach you and clear you and all this stuff. It's never like your dad. And I wish there was more of that. I think with like just like daughters and their dads, of having a relationship. But yeah, I would say my parents were not really like there emotionally,
Yeah. Yeah.
I was gonna say, and I think too, like related to like how our parents can support us when we're being bullied at school. I think our parents, their generation, they were so focused on just putting food on the table that I don't think that they had the knowledge, or I think for some of us we're like big parents, "Chihalo mikana," right? So even if like you tell them, they would probably just say, just ignore them or walk away. When in fact, it's still not working. You're still getting bullied. And so then how do you deal with that? And I don't think they had the skill set or the tools, or even have knowledge of how do you handle a situation like that through the school and stuff. And so I think sometimes it's kind of like thinking back, like in the moment you yinky team out, like, you're angry because you're like, why don't you have my back? But I think as we get older, we reflect back. I think a part of me, I feel like my mom has done so much for me in a sense about like financial stability and just support, but there's like that emotional piece that, like Callie said, we're missing. But I think thinking back, I'm no longer angry at her. I think also I understand that she tried the best that she could with what she had. And I just have to internally be okay with that. But then how do I then help myself now so I can get better, So I think that anger for my mom has disappeared. But I think now for me, it's more so working on myself.
Exactly. And, like I said, it's been a struggle throughout my whole life of growing up. And like I said, it all started from then when I was in kindergarten. And then after that, I just kept having trouble fitting in. And, been bullied throughout middle school and everything. So I had a lot of external factors going on, and of course, a lot of things going on inside my head and inside of me. And I started cutting myself in middle school. And I remember my parents seeing this. I started going through this really dark phase, like dressing all in dark clothing and,
Mhm.
the emo punk rock stage. And
Mhm.
I was hurting and self-harming myself a lot. And my parents did see it, but I think for them, they were afraid of what was going on. I think they were afraid. Now that I look back, they probably were afraid. Like, we don't know what's going on. We don't know what to do. So
Yeah.
for them, they just thought, oh, it'll get better with time. And then they just didn't address it. So it took years and years for me to finally be at the point where you are, Olivia. It's
Mhm.
actually recent, by the way. It didn't
Mhm.
start getting better until recently.
Yeah.
But it took a long time for me to forgive because
Mhm.
that I went through. And it's been difficult, but it had a lot to do with me having to go through, unhealthy relationships and like other outside situations in life for me to grow up on my own. And I'm finally in therapy now. So I've always been in and out of therapy since, I saw the school counselor in middle school. So I've been like in and out of therapy for quite a while, but never consistent with it until now. And
Mhm.
it's about 8 months, and I see my therapist every week. So I just had a session with her this morning. So yeah, like after, sometimes you really do have to just help yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's definitely like I feel like expectations is like really I always say expectations
Mhm.
like the death of all things, right? Because I think even with our parents and like even now, like I'm a mom, and so I think back to like when I was a kid and I would look at my parents and they were probably in their 20s when they came over, right? And so I think to now when I feel like I don't have everything figured out, right? And so I can't have that expectation of like me being a child and like expecting that they would know all the answers or they would be able to help me or whatever it is. And so I feel like the way I see people now is like you just can't have expectations, right? You just enjoy people for who and what they are, and appreciate for what they provide you, and then you might have to create your family elsewhere as well. So it's not always blood. And I love my family. I love again what they all serve. I don't have any sisters. I just have brothers, and so those relationships are a little bit different too. But I don't know any better, and so I think just accepting your relationships, whether they're with your family, extended family. I think appreciating the best, and then just leaving the worst.
Mhm.
Completely agree. Yeah. And, I don't get along with everyone in my family, but I'm happy. I'm very fortunate to say that my parents and we are a lot better now. Because recently I got really sick. So I had no one but my parents to take care of me. And I think that was when we started bonding again and just be working on our relationship. So I'm very blessed about that. And I just want to say, like, to people out there too that may be listening, like sometimes like there are people in your family that maybe you guys will never be able to be okay, but
Mhm.
you just have to love each other from afar. And that's
Yeah.
what I had to do with a couple of people in my family too. Like I had to just distance myself because we were just not healthy for each other. We weren't really good for each other. But um, I think out of respect for for myself and for them, like you just have to distance and love each other from afar, like I said. And it's sad, but it helps though, because you're not completely cutting them off, but you're just stepping back and giving each other time and space. So
Yeah, that's so true. I think again, like going back to sometimes we feel like they're family, so we have to love them or we have to be in the same place. And I think sometimes it's okay to be like, you know what, XYZ is gonna be at this one. No, like I'm, like for my own sake and my mental health, I don't need to be there. And I think that that's okay. And I think we have to be okay with that. Especially if it's like cousins or, like if it's parents, like just being okay with your kids being like, you know what, like these aunts or uncles always, say these things to me and I don't want to be there, and being okay with, you don't have to be there then.
Yeah. It
exactly.
takes a while. I feel like it takes a while for you to get to that state. I know that it took me a very long time. Like even now, it's almost like UG step by, but you have to remind yourself that you're going for whoever it is that invited you, or for whatever the purpose of that ceremony or event is for. And people are going to show up whether you like them or not, because you all know each other. And so I think more so than anything, it's just not associating yourself with those people. You say it back out of respect, but you don't engage in conversation. That's how, at least for me, that's how I've always felt. Like, it's like I go because, like my aunt, for example, asked me to go. I'm not going because of whatever it is. I'm going for her, and that's it only. I go, I do my thing, and I leave, and I try not to engage in conversation with those folks. And I tell the same thing to my husband too. It's like, I'm only going because of this reason, nothing else. Right. But it takes a long time for people, like someone, to kind of like accept the fact that you're never going to 100% get along with every single one of your family members. I mean, it's just not possible, right? Like you're never going to see eye to eye to certain things. And so even like with your siblings, there may be some like different views or perspective on anything. But at the end of the day, you just have to agree to disagree. And if you can't love from, there, then like you said, you love from afar. Mm-hmm. And will always care for them regardless of what happens, but you just cannot build on what you have because of your differences, and I think you have to be a really strong person to walk away and say, you know what, I love you because you're my sibling, or because of your XYZ to me, but I'm just going to need to distance myself for now. And it took me a really long time to actually acknowledge that I can do that, because I was always so hurt when people say certain things to me or do certain things to me, and I would be very bitter. And I think as I started to grow older, and I think just like what I've shared before with Callie and I doing this show and talking to people about their experiences and how they handle things, I'm starting to reflect back and know that, I don't have to be whatever. I don't need someone else's permission to live my life, pretty much.
Oh yeah. And going off with that, I actually don't come around family gatherings anymore. To be honest with you, I don't really come out to like Hmong community functions anymore in general, just because of what I've been through.
Yeah.
These are just my experiences. Like I went through a lot of trauma with the cyberbullying, with, just going viral unintentionally. And I've seen a lot of stuff online, and a lot of them were like family members and people that I once, had relationships with or a friendship with, like just everybody in general. And so now, like, I completely cut that off, and my parents understand. My mom's understanding, because I just told her the honest truth that I do have a mouth on me. So like, if people do say something really online, I will address it, I won't fight them, but I'm just saying I would address it and be like, hey, I'm not comfortable with that. I'm not cool with that, but things like that, I just had to completely remove myself from the situation, because it's a lot, honestly, what I've been through. And I feel like you don't really know how it is until you go through it yourself.
Yeah.
And so now it's like, I don't partake in any family gatherings or any family events anymore, just because of what I've been through. Like, I feel like it's just not good for me mentally to be in that space.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, like now it's just all about my immediate family only, like just my parents and my sibling or my close cousin, and that's it.
Yeah. And I think that's great that you're doing that. I think sometimes you have to take care of yourself first, and only you know what's best for you. And so I think it's great that you're able to make that decision for yourself and say no to some things until you feel much better about communicating with people outside of your inner circle. So
yeah. So going back to therapy, so when did you first seek therapy, and like what was that what was the view of it that you felt growing up, and what has led you to finally say, like, I need to go into therapy?
So my first time seeking help was in 8th grade. I was involved in a lot of like friendship drama, and this girl and I used to be best friends, and then all of a sudden they were trying to jump me, so it was kind of like conflict. I don't remember what happened, to be honest. It's been so long ago, and to be honest, I blocked out a lot of parts in my life, especially during that time period, because I think it was so traumatic. So I don't really remember the details, but I was experiencing some type of issue at school. And so my mom was like, well, maybe we should try going to the school counselor. And I probably just went like once or twice, but I was not like, I didn't partake in it. I didn't really open up to that person at all. Like, I remembered it was a guy, and I just sat in the room and I didn't really say much. And I didn't think it was beneficial at the time just because I was young, and I wasn't open to telling strangers about my issues. I mean, I can't even tell my family. What makes you think I can tell you? You know, that was my thought. So that was like probably the first time that I sought some sort of help. It wasn't until after high school. I think I was 20. I was through a very, very, very dark period. I went through a lot of that in my life, actually. But during that time, I was just partying and drinking heavily, like heavily every single day, all day long. I was like in a really, really, really bad relationship at that time as well. And I wasn't living at home anymore. So I was kind of going through like a lot of things. And so I finally was at that point where I was like suicidal. And for me, I was just so like, I've been dealing with this for such a long time. Like, I've experienced those suicidal feelings for so long, like even when I was young. And finally, I just reached a point where I was like, maybe I should try. Like, just try. So I just Googled and researched. I did my own research because the guy that I was dating at the time, like, he didn't really believe in it, which I think is very common, especially among men. I think among culture in general, I think they don't think therapy is necessary, but it really is. It really, really is. So I was like, no, I want to try. I want to try this. So I just went ahead and went in a couple of sessions, and I stopped going. I think because I just fell back into my old habits again. And, I did it a couple more times in my 20s. And it wasn't until now that I am totally, completely open to it. And I realized that what people don't realize about therapy is that it's a lifelong thing. A lot of the time, people go a few times and they're like, okay, I think I'm good. I think I've got everything that I need. Or they go until their life is going great, and then they stop, and then they reach a point where they relapse again, and then they have to go again. So I realize that it's a lifelong thing. You have to continuously work on yourself every day. And I have like diagnosis as well, so I have to work on myself every day.
Yeah. So I'm in therapy too, and I've been in therapy. The first time was probably like 2 years ago. So I was in for a couple months, and then started back in like just this December. And I think that is absolutely right. That it's sometimes you feel like, okay, I'm okay now, and then you stop, and then something else happens, right? But I think that part of therapy is like there's so much to unpack, because a lot of the things that we struggle with now isn't just something that happened, now. It's stuff that has happened in the past that comes in and out of our lives. And I think that is part of it. It's just, like there's a lot of work to be done, and there's never going to be a time where you're like, okay, I'm okay. I got this.
Exactly. Therapy is not easy. It's very complex because for me, like, I realized that you have to honestly shop around for the right therapist. Like, the first one might not be the right fit. Like, and don't be afraid to be like, hey, I don't think this is working out with that person. Let me try a different person. Because I had to keep finding like the right, like I had to keep searching. I went through quite a few therapists, and so I finally found one that I felt like we had instant connection. She really helped me out. Like, we have just that bond, that support that I really needed. So you have to really look around, and don't be afraid to do so. Your first one is not always going to be the right one for you. And another thing that I tell my friends is, yeah, you can go on therapy, but once you leave that office, if you don't apply it to your everyday life, it's not beneficial for you.
Yeah.
You can't go in there and expect your therapist to fix you. You really have to take in what you're learning, what you're reflecting on, and then applying it to your everyday life and actually practicing what you learn and what you talk about,
Yeah.
Because, yeah.
And I think being honest, because I think growing up, like we're not really taught to again express ourselves, like so it's hard for us to sometimes even explain. But I feel like part of it is just you go and then you start talking, and then they, ask you questions, and I feel like that's when you actually start doing the work of like, oh my gosh, like why do these situations make me feel this way? And then you like kind of, I mean, sometimes it does go back to childhood, like things that, were said to you that now you believe and now you take it with you and you apply it to all these situations and that same thing comes up. So I feel like being honest and just knowing that they're not there, to judge you, they're there to help you and stuff. But yeah, you still do have to find somebody. It's just like having doctors, right? You have to, find one where you click with and you can actually be honest and start doing the work with.
Yeah. I think you guys both brought up some really good points. And I think I would like to kind of move on to the next question, because I know we talked about therapy, which is a great segue into like mental health, right? Like we know that you, like one of your biggest passion is to talk about mental health, and especially with what you've been diagnosed with borderline personality disorder. How have you viewed mental health growing up? And how has it evolved and eventually lead you to, seek for help?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I would say that I remembered when I was a teenager, I just kept experiencing a lot of feelings that I felt like not my peers or friends were open to talk about or understand. I was very, very suicidal. I was self-harming a lot. And I started binge drinking and just engaging in very like impulsive, unhealthy behaviors and acting out. I had so much rage and anger. And a lot of my friends were just like, you're just overthinking, you're overthinking it, you're making it a big deal. And I was just like, I swear to God, like I'm struggling. Like something can be so simple to you, but it's everything to me. Like it's complicated.
Mm-hmm.
And I just remembered I first learned about nonprofit organizations or support groups through MySpace, because there was this one nonprofit organization group called To Write Love on Her Arms. And this is like when I was in middle or high school, I mean. And so basically the person that founded that nonprofit organization also struggled from self-harm. And I found this out through my own research. Like I had to go on my own way and research it myself because I felt like no one around me understood me. I always felt like I was crazy. So then I would have to take initiative to myself and like just go the extra mile and do my own research.
Yeah.
So that's when I started learning like, oh, there's such thing as depression. There's such thing as anxiety, self-harming. Like there's help out there. There's actually people that do struggle with what I'm struggling with. So that was kind of when I started learning a little bit more about it. Because like I said, the founder of that nonprofit organization struggled with all the things that I was going through. And so she formed a group, and then it just grew big. And now it's like national, like it's very big now. And so I didn't really get involved until after college, I would say. I didn't have the confidence, to be honest with you. I didn't have confidence because my whole entire life, I've been told that, oh, you're crazy. Oh, you're just acting like a victim. Oh my gosh, like everybody kept invalidating my experiences and trying to silence my voice. And they're like, well, if you didn't do this, maybe you wouldn't be like this. And it was just difficult for me because yes, there were some things, some decisions in life that I made that I'm not proud of. But there's an underlying deeper issue that I'm trying to figure out what it is so then I can help myself and grow. Because when you suffer from any type of mental illness or any sort of depression, it really clouds your thinking. And a lot of the times people say it's like a chemical imbalance in your brain. But for me, with borderline personality disorder, the way that we process emotions is almost like a child, very underdeveloped. And you go from black to white, and there's no way for you to control it. You're very impulsive. It's very complex, right? So so I didn't really get into getting involved with American Foundation for Suicide Prevention until after like high school, when I think I was finishing college. That's when I started volunteering because I wanted to be in a space where I felt safe, where I felt like I could relate to other people.
Mm-hmm.
And to be honest with you, never felt like I could do that in the Hmong community ever.
Yeah.
I never felt like I could ever talk about it. And when I did try to, no one really listened, or they think that I'm just being a victim or something. I've been told and called that so many times in my life. So I've tried to do like fundraisers. I've tried to like raise awareness, but then I did lose confidence and I stopped. Recently, I did stop for a while when I was through the whole social media stuff. I didn't feel like I had confidence anymore.
Do you have a lot of friends now who are in therapy, or do you still feel like, like, I guess let's keep it like of your Hmong friends? Do you feel like is there a lot that are in therapy?
I have one that I know, but
Mhm.
one out of,
Right. Yeah.
There's only one person that I know that goes to therapy besides myself in the whole community, and who I talk to every day. And it's very difficult, especially when you have a like disorder like I do. A lot of people, there's stigma to it. Everybody always thinks that, oh, that person's using their mental health as an excuse or whatever, and it's really not like that.
Yeah.
It's a lot harder.
Mm-hmm.
To be honest, I'm still learning about borderline personality disorder too, because I literally just got diagnosed like around June. So it's so new to me. There are still things that I don't understand myself. And so I may like behave or react impulsively, but at that moment I'm literally blacked out. And then by the time that it's done, I think back and I start feeling like horribly about it. I start to like self-internalize what I did and beat myself up over it. But yeah, borderline personality disorder is very, very complex. It's just known as a disorder where you have unstable emotional moods, but it's mostly from a traumatic experience as a child. So a lot of people that's been abused have, been diagnosed with BPD, but it definitely starts from a need that was neglected as a child. And you have this fear of abandonment, of losing people close to you, and then it results in you behaving a certain way because you're so afraid of losing them that you could behave irrationally or impulsively. Or it's hard. I'm not a professional, so I can't put it in words that I guess are correct.
It sounds very complex because I feel like there's a lot of different components that goes into it, right? And I think for someone who's fairly newly diagnosed, it is really hard to articulate, what it is, and because there's so many different components to it. And so, I think you've shared publicly about your disorder, and I think that can resonate with some people. And so, I applaud you for your bravery and just like announcing that via, like social media and just owning it. And I think that sometimes it's like the first step. It's just like kind of like the alcoholics, right? Like the first step of recovery is acknowledging that you have it and being okay with it. And then how do you then work on overcoming that? What are some of the tools that are out there to kind of help you process that and become the best version of yourself? So
I'm gonna put one comment up. So is it Gambao? Is that right? Gambao. She says it is very hurtful when people invalidate your experiences.
Absolutely.
I definitely feel like that's part of therapy, is like somebody giving you the space, because I do feel like you have to be selective on who you share things with, right? Because I sometimes share things with people and then you're like, crap, I feel even worse. Or I don't know about both of you, but I feel like I get very frustrated when I try to tell someone how I'm feeling, and then they're like, just be happy, and it's like, oh my God, I don't know why that hurts me so much when I express how I'm feeling and someone says, just be happy. Because I just feel like, I'm having these feelings, but when you say that to me, it's like you completely invalidate how I'm feeling, right? You make me feel like I'm crazy. I should just feel happy. I feel like it's okay, like, to seek therapy, and then it's also okay to not have to explain to anyone why you're in therapy, and to not share certain things with certain people.
Right. that's something that I had to learn too, because I kept using social media as an outlet because I felt so alone. And I think this goes out to like a lot of people out there now too. Like they use social media to vent and to talk about issues like this because they feel like they're so alone. And that was my problem. And then finally I'm in therapy, and I had to really, really learn to just keep certain things like off of social media, and to just learn how to vent to my close friends or people that actually care and know me, instead of like a bunch of people where you just never really know if they're genuine or not, because it is the internet. And you guys all know my experiences with social media. I learned it the hard way. So now it's like I only share like funny stuff, or I just share things that I'm okay with any sort of feedback from, but before, like, I just didn't know what to do. So I turned to social media, and that's not the best way to go about it. So yeah, therapy really, really saved me, to be honest. It really saved me. And I was in intense therapy. I had like 4 therapy sessions a week for 3 months. For 3 months. I was going to therapy 4 times a week for 3 months. And I was in dialectical behavior therapy, and I had individual sessions with my own therapist. So it's like deep dialectical behavioral therapy is like a group therapy. So it was very intense. And then now just once a week.
Yeah. I mean, I've worked in the healthcare industry for a while in the administration side, and I've worked with doctors and stuff too. And I do feel like it is something that not a lot of people know of, in a sense, where there's not a lot of education on what therapy is and what resources are available. And then even when there are, I feel like people don't really take advantage of it. I'm guilty of that. Like, I'm one of those people. Like, I know of it, but I think because it's almost like but I've told my husband sometimes when I'm going through a lot of different things, like I seeked out a therapist a few years ago, because I was just going through some stuff and of what people are saying to me, and just like my emotional, mental being, that I really needed somebody to talk through with me. But I feel like because I didn't have the funding, I think that's part of the problem, is that sometimes your insurance does cover it, right? But I think it's just like the hardest part is getting started. You have to know what resources are available, what your insurance covers. And I think sometimes that takes time, especially when you're a working mom and stuff, but you just have to make that a priority. Right. And so I just feel like when you are going through some stuff emotionally or mentally, your partner, sometimes but a lot of the times it's like you need somebody who's not judgmental and biased to kind of help you unpack, to kind of help you reflect and break it into pieces where it's like bite size for you, that you can really reflect on just that one piece or just that one feeling. Because when you have things bottled up, it's like all of these things that you just want to fix right then and there with one session, but people don't understand that it takes so long for you to really understand that one feeling or that one traumatic experience, because that experience, even if it's just a small one, right, it takes a lot for you to really unpack all the little different components of it. And so I have found that people who have gone through therapy, it has helped them. I myself do find value in it. I just have never gone to therapy, but I do find it very valuable, and I think it is very helpful. And people who are going through it, I think it's a great thing for self-improvement, self-love, and self-discovery.
Yeah, I think because we don't see our brains and damage, right? I think it's hard for us to be like, I should go pay for that. But just as I think sometimes we have to think about our brain, our bodies, right? There's so much crap thrown at us every single day, all sorts of messaging, external, internal, and then how we create those stories. And so I feel like if we could really look at our brain and appreciate all the trauma, all the things, all the injuries to it, I think we will take it a little bit more seriously. Because I think like for our bodies, if we got cut, we would go to the doctor, right? No questions about it. We would take ourselves and get to the ER, you know. And then I feel like sometimes when our brain, I don't want to say broken, but like when I was going,
it's not tangible, like it's not a direct visible thing,
right? But
so
like
you don't negotiate it that way.
Yeah, like it's very hard when you do feel like you can't get up because of all the stuff, like just all the stuff that you're struggling with. Like that is a pretty serious thing. And so I would encourage anybody who is feeling like that to to try your best, and seriously DM me and I will help you pay for the cost, because I'm total supporter of just therapy, and if your mind isn't working right, like nothing in your life is really working right, in my opinion.
Yeah,
that is very true.
and I think too, I think most I'm just speaking from like my own experience, like with my own doctors. Like I feel like there are times like right? Like even if you go in and just get your foot in for like one session and you do express that you really want it, but you have some, you know, like financial needs that you cannot come continuously, they will have resources available for you in order for you to reach out and get help, you know? I feel like most clinics of some sort or therapy of some sort, they have those type of resources available. They've kind of worked it out and networked and know enough to where they can actually just provide you the information. You just have to do the work.
Yeah, so I did just find this out. So I have Kaiser Permanente, and I started in December, and I was asking for a bill because I hadn't seen any bill come through, and so I was like, ooh, like I've been going like once a week, and so come to find out, they actually are like Kaiser is waiving all of the mental health stuff because of COVID. You know, I think us being isolated, I know I'm definitely like when my kids aren't with me, I'm by myself like all week, and so I think just I really appreciate that a lot of, you know, medical providers are knowing that, especially during this time is hard because we're all, you know, in a pandemic. And so definitely check with your insurance too, if you have insurance already, to see if they already covered that for free anyways with no copay and stuff. So.
I'm very blessed because I actually have insurance through the state. And they cover for everything.
That's awesome.
But it's also very important to, again, like call your insurance and be like, hey, like what clinics are covered, you know, for mental health. You just really have to call and ask.
Yeah.
And they will help you out. They really do. It's just, you just got to make that phone call.
Yeah. Absolutely. Okay, man, we've been talking about some like heavy stuff. we're gonna get a little bit heavier, but in other ways. Are y'all ready? Okay. All right. So we're gonna just jump straight into it. I know everybody knows your thing with OnlyFans. You are probably like the pioneer for a lot, like the Hmong community, because I didn't know about OnlyFans until probably like when your name was tied to it. So, you know, I think that the first thing is that the Hmong community does struggle with women's sexuality, right? Like I just feel like there's, you know, and I think maybe that kind of goes back to how our relationship with our dad too, right? Where it's always come through our mom, because, you know, I think, of course, I don't think any dad wants to look at their, you know, baby girl in that way. But I definitely feel like the Hmong community does struggle with women's sexuality. So from your view, like, why do you think women's sexuality is so threatening to, you know, within our Hmong community, and why it's hidden away? And that even though, let's just be real, that, you know, like Hmong men be looking, but then they also be talking
all the time, and they always feel like they have to say something all the time when their opinions aren't asked for. But I will say that I think Hmong women's sexuality is so threatened because it's unheard of in the community. I feel like we never really had a voice at all. We've been silenced for so long. I mean, we live pretty much to serve our men all the time. I mean, if you look at just the social gatherings, a woman's always cooking in the kitchen, and, you know, the men get to eat first, and the men get a whole table to themselves while we have to sit around and wait and serve them. I mean, I personally just feel like I said, it's just so unheard of. And it's just crazy because when I started OnlyFans, It was just something to get back on my feet. I was just trying it out because I heard of it. Obviously, I'm very well informed in what goes on in the world today, especially in today's society. It's
Mm-hmm.
very normalized, actually. People don't,
Mm-hmm.
community are very unaware and uneducated about this, but OnlyFans has been around for years. And it's actually very mainstream source of income right now. It's a lot of celebrities are hopping on it, like a lot of social media influencers. Like it's very well heard of already in the American society. So I've always been very well informed about that. And I'm supportive of sex workers because, I mean, come on, like sex is everywhere. You have to be really realistic. Like it's in the music that we listen to. Like you have Ariana Grande singing about sex. Like, I mean, it's everywhere. Sex sells. And we have to admit that. But in a movie, there's always a scene or two, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And it's, I've always just been very supportive of sex workers. Maybe it's just because I'm very open-minded. I don't judge people. I'm not sure. But I was very curious and I wanted to try it. So when I tried it out, it was very low key for me. Like, yeah, I promoted it on my social media, but I didn't really say much about it. I kind of just wanted to see how it works.
Yeah.
I'm still learning, to be honest with you. I've been doing this for less than a year. So I'm still trying to learn how to make more money and how to work the platform. So I kind of just tried it out and then it exploded and became what it is now.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's just unheard of, you know. I don't think it's something that we've talked about ever. And like a lot of us Hmong women we feel like we have to hide our sexuality or we have to perceive ourselves to be prim and proper and all that we were raised to be, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely feel like it's a little bit frustrating when because you just want to feel sexy sometimes, right?
Yeah.
And especially that's what your men are looking at anyways, you know, but then it's like, but then you can't be sexy. So it's a little bit confusing sometimes.
Well, and I also feel like sometimes, like when you, especially someone who is in the Hmong public eye, when they wear something sexy, you get all of these people talking so much trash. But at the end of the day, it's like, but in mainstream, you've got J-Lo, you've got everybody. You got Britney Spears, you got Rihanna, you have Ariana Grande, everybody. You have all of the mainstream superstars wearing practically nothing sometimes, right? And they're like, oh my gosh, she's so damn fine, she's gorgeous. But then like a Hmong person tries it out, it's like, oh my gosh, she's trash, or she looks horrible, or and so I just feel like you're right. It's something that it's unheard of for our Hmong community. It's something that we're not used to yet, and I think that's why it is so threatened, because people are not used to it. People are not used to Hmong women doing that, and then when they do, all of a sudden they have all the like all the names in the book gets thrown out. So it's unfortunate, but I think it's just because it's something new.
I would like to say that I am ahead of my time in the Hmong community because I'm always very innovative. I always think ahead. I'm like, yo, this is cool. Let me try it out.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like I'm very comfortable with my sexuality. So I feel like that's something that needs to be celebrated.
Absolutely.
It needs to be normalized. And I get a lot of slack for that because so many times people are like, you have mental illness. Why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? And it's just like, that has nothing to do with what I do, like profession, like as a profession. That has nothing to do with my profession at all. It's separate things. I don't know how people even tied 2 and 2 together.
It's work, right? It's work. Like even if you're like, oh, you still gotta go to work. You still have
to go to work. This is the thing. Mental illness does not have a face. You can be rich, you can be poor, you can be happy, you can be sad. It doesn't have a face. It doesn't,
it doesn't pick and choose its person. Everybody has.
Exactly.
I was going to say, choked on myself there. I think we all have a little bit of mental illness, to be honest with you.
Of course.
It's just that some of us go to therapy, some of us are not diagnosed, and so I think it's easy for people to put blame when really it's about self-reflection.
Exactly. But no, like I said, I am comfortable with my sexuality. With OnlyFans, there are 2 different types of content creators. There's the ones that don't do nudes, and they're the ones that do nudes. And I am the one that do nudes. And I'm ashamed about it. I'm not ashamed of it. But you know, there has been like people keep leaking my live stream videos and stuff like that, which is really disappointing. But at the same time, I'm not ashamed.
Yeah.
I'm
Good for you.
people would steal my content. And, you know, something that I actually take some time to do and entertain people, because I have fans that really do support me. There are those bad apples out there that just steal my content and they're like, oh my God, look at her. And they want to shame me all day long. But what they don't understand is that I'm really proud of what I do. I'm not ashamed. I don't care. Because, like I said, I'm happy to be a woman, and I like to celebrate and embrace my sexuality. I don't know about other people, but I just don't think there's nothing wrong. And that's how I feel about it.
Yeah. And I love that you're so confident in that. And I think anything that you do, that you put your name behind it, you should be proud of what you do. And I love that you feel that way about it. And I applaud you for being so brave to do all that and like literally like paving the way for other people and just building confidence too, you know?
Right. And which kind of like goes into the next topic I do want to talk about, like, with OnlyFans content creators. Like, you know, I feel like it is hard for girls out there because not all of them can be as confident as I am standing behind this platform. But I always want to tell people that when you start one, it's going to be there forever. Okay. Because OnlyFans, yes, the money looks great. It looks great, right? You see the glitz, you see the glam, you see, like, you know, social media and all that. Like, you see like what you can get with it, how it looks great, but you have to also understand that there is a dark side to it. And it's like, if you care too much about what people think, if you're worried about people finding out, then I don't think OnlyFans is for you. You know what I mean? You have to understand that there is a stigma. You will get judged. It doesn't matter if you do nudes or not. We're all on the platform, and guess what? We all are selling sex, whether we do nudes or not. And you have to deal with these criticisms. You have to deal with these backlash. People will find out. They will. And you have to be okay with that. And I just want to put that out there because there are a lot of girls that reached out to me. And I always tell them, are you sure you're ready? Especially when they're 18 years old. I always kind of feel bad because it's like, you're so young. When I was 18, I had no idea who the hell I was. So I'm just kind of concerned, like, well, I just want to ask you, like, do you care if people find out? Because if you do, then I don't recommend creating one.
Yeah.
I love that you're frank about that, because I think when you're younger, you're naive and you don't really think about when you're 30 and, you know, if you become a mom and all that stuff, right? But I love that you're just real about it with people, you know, versus just addressing the good side to it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So there's definitely a lot of consequences, things that you do have to take accountability for. That's why, like, for me, even though I get a lot of backlash for it, I'm just like, sometimes it does hurt, but it hurts more when it comes from women. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
When I've seen the backlash and all that, but it hurts more when it comes from a woman, because I'm like, why are you shaming me when you and I go through the same battles in life? Like, we're supposed to be sisters, especially in the Hmong community. All Hmong women have been slut shamed and pretty much persecuted our whole entire lives. And I think that because they've been going through this themselves, they don't know when they're doing it to another woman. Like, it comes naturally, right? Because of what we've grown up, you know, in what society we grew up in. But yeah, it's definitely more hurtful when it comes from a woman, because I'm such a girl's girl. Like, I love making girlfriends, and I like, you know, I like making friends with girls, and I just feel like, dang, it's more hurtful when it comes from a woman. So
yeah,
you know,
I feel that for you. I do feel like as women, you understand each other. Don't I? Like, some of your experiences are similar. You know, we have different journeys in life, but I think there are a lot of similarities. And so I think when you are being called out or bullied, cyberbullied, if anything, right? Or people just saying like nasty things about you that are women, it is a lot more hurtful, because you I guess it goes back to what Callie was saying, expectation. Like, you expect them to like know better, you know?
Right. So. And, you know, to be honest, it's, at the end of the day, I am going to continue to be me. And I understand that I'm not for everybody.
Yeah.
You know, but I will not take responsibility for what they say and for what they choose to do. You know, I can only be in control of myself at the end of the day. So
yeah, and I mean, I think, you know, we go through life and we change and ebbs and flows, and so even if you do something, no matter what it is that you do, right? Like we all make mistakes. I'm sure we can all look back and be like, damn, probably shouldn't have done this one or two thing back then. But I mean, what can you do, right? It's part of learning, just embracing life, and you know, at least being always authentic to yourself and what you stand for.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I do have a question. If you what are maybe 3 tips that you can give to girls who want to start one and like being actually successful on there?
3 tips. So first tip is
I'm taking notes, by the way.
You know, I get a lot of people asking me, and I thought about charging and I gave rates, but I never followed through with mentorship. It's a lot of work. I was going to drop a YouTube video, but this is a great intro. So the first tip is to be mentally prepared. Like I said, you're going to get, you know, slack for it. You're going to get judgments. You're going to, you know, people are going to disapprove. They will start treating you differently and they will put you in a box. So you have to mentally prepare yourself for that. Secondly, I feel like there are a lot of girls out there that want to do it anonymously. You know, they want to sell feet pictures and all that. You definitely can, but I feel like to be more successful and to make money faster, you have to promote as yourself. I know that seems scary, but that's the truth. The people that make the most money are the ones that they promote as themselves. Because there's a face to it, and it always starts with people that know you, that will subscribe first, and then eventually you will just start building your followers. So promoting as yourself is crucial. I feel this might be my own opinions. Maybe other OnlyFans content creators may feel different, but I really do feel like just be yourself, you know. And plus, when you sign up for OnlyFans, they do ask you for your ID. I want to tell people that they do ask for your government ID because they want to verify that you're 18 and they want to make sure you're a real person. So, plus, it is legit money. It's legal. You do have to pay taxes. You do have to do all of that. So, they do give you a 1099 form. So, yeah, you have to use your real ID. I had a girl ask me, can I create one without giving them my ID? I was like, no, honey, they're not going to approve your account. You know, they're a legit platform and actually self-employed. So, so 1, be mentally prepared. 2, promote as yourself. What do I do? What's the 3rd tip? I'd say 3rd tip is to be consistent. People think that, boom, your first month you make great money. You don't got to do nothing anymore. False. Because I made that mistake. I'm not going to lie. The first month I was like, oh, okay. I don't think I'm going to do this no more. It'll be fine. And the second month you're like, oh, shoot. You actually have to work for it. You actually have to create content. You have to interact with your fans. You have to keep promoting. So it's not just something that will come to you without you putting in work. You legit have to be active. People want to see that you're a real live person, that you are giving customer service, good customer service. So you have to be consistent. You have to post. I post a couple of times a week. I try to do it daily, but sometimes I don't do it every day. But I do try to post like a couple of times a week, or at least, you know, more than a couple of times a month. I really do try to be up to date unless there's like an emergency, like when I got sick. I, of course, had to announce that and let them know. So you can't just like leave them in the air and not communicate, because they are subscribing and paying. So it's like paying X amount of money for you monthly and buying your content. So you have to treat it as a business. You really do. I don't think people understand that, but it's a legit business. Whether you take it seriously or not, you know, it's a real thing. So treat people like how you would like to be treated, like in a business.
Yeah. I mean, that sounds just like any work, right? Like you need to show up and do the work every single day. You can't just be like, think that it's just this.
Well, people keep saying, get a job. And it's like, it's a real job. I'm not kidding you. You get a 1099 form. You have to put in your social security number. Like what more do you want? You know, you have to pay.
I think it's just not, I think people say that because they don't have the same perspective as you on what that is, you know? And there's nothing you can do. Sometimes you just have to meet people where they are and just kind of ignore what they've got to say because, you know, they don't walk in your shoes. So they don't know what it's like to be a content creator and to get paid for them, you know?
Exactly. But yeah, those are my 3 tips.
Those are awesome 3 tips. I love it.
Yes, thank you for sharing that. So we are up on the hour. Is there any last thing that you wanted to tread into?
Me? I don't know if you're talking to Olivia or
either one of you.
To be honest.
Yeah, I don't know if any of the audience members got any questions. I'm trying to go back to see if anyone had one that maybe we can address really quick. So I'm kind of scrolling up really quick here.
Yeah, so if any of you have any questions, please definitely let us know. And I do want to say, let's see, Ricky did put a comment, OnlyFans is automatically thought of or connected to sex work when there's folks on there doing piano lessons on OnlyFans. So I think the other, I think there's other ones called Patreon and other stuff for like content creation as a whole, not just, you know, like if you have more mature content or anything like that. And so I think a lot of people automatically make assumptions without doing research on what kind of platform it actually is.
Yeah, there's so much more to OnlyFans than just like sex stuff, you know?
Well, there is, but I will say that majority of the way that OnlyFans make money is from sex workers. So that is something that I will be realistic about is I know that they try really hard to promote like other things like music and entertainment, arts and stuff. But I'll be very real, like sex workers kind of gave OnlyFans a name and we bring in the most money. So and
I would agree because I didn't hear about it until last year, and you know, you were saying earlier that it's been on there for a while. So
especially during the pandemic, it started because adult actresses, you know, like porn stars and stuff, they weren't able to shoot anymore, so they started going onto that platform, and then a lot of people just kind of joined in, and so I don't know, but then again, there's content creators that they just sell like sexy photos. They don't really do nude or do that type of work, but it's still selling sex either way. So
it is what it is. But, you know, I think at the end of the day, like you said, you treat it like a business. You run it like a business. You produce content that, you know, is quality. And that's why people are signing and subscribing. And I think that that's great that you are so confident in your sexuality and being a woman. I applaud you and I support you. And I thank you for, you know, giving Callie and I the time to kind of talk to you about your experiences. I think a lot of people, when they hear the name Gloria Yang, they associate you with, you know, things that has happened in the past that's been shared on social media, and they don't really get to know you, you know, and they don't really get to know the fun side of Gloria, the really sweet side that I've seen. And so, you know, which is unfortunate because I think sometimes social media can be very harmful to people. So
what is your OnlyFans, if anybody want to follow?
It's onlyfans.com/GY_official.
Yeah. So if you're watching this and you want to check her out, then you know where to find her. Again, thank you so much, Gloria, for being with us today. I think that a lot of the things that we talked about, people can really resonate with, and hopefully this is just the beginning of conversations, you know, especially with our families, mental health, and any of, you know, women's sexuality. I think those are things that we need to talk about in our community and our inner circles, and then, you know, at a larger, you know, as we are here longer in the U.S. and, you know, just assimilating into the American culture here. And so, as always, thank you for tuning in. And here at All That Talk, we believe that conversations drive change, and change starts with you. We will see you next time. Bye.
Bye, everybody.